Hi, so along with a weird battle bus arriving in the hub and also the fourth door opening, we also got treated with the full interview with ERNEST CLINE. And I gotta tell you, it's a pretty cool interview, going over loads of stuff covering Ready Player One and the new book Ready Player Two. Fingers crossed it gets made into a movie with Spielberg again. But he also dropped a number of hints along the lines of Number 7 and, believe it or not, some weird coloured orbs from Sonic the Hedgehog, no less. So the interview itself is really cool. So I thought I'd put it up on the channel so you can just watch it over yourself. I really hope you enjoy it. Let's bring it on.
Hey, this is Dave Bazuki, CEO, founder of Roblox, and I'm here with Ernie Klein. Hey, Ernie.
Hey, Dave. Good to see you, man.
Yeah, it's been a couple years. Last time we were together, we were hanging at South by Southwest talking about your first book, Ready Player One. But today it's Ready Player Two, and we're celebrating the publication in the US and the UK. I think it's safe to say this is probably the most highly anticipated fiction book of 2020. It's clearly on track to be a massive hit. I've read it. I'm blown away. It's worth it. It's worth the wait.
I'm excited for people to finally get to read it.
With Ready Player 2, we're going to see a lot of great stuff. There's another quest. There's some technical advancements that Halliday left for Wade that could change a lot of things. We've got a lot of action. I think it's not just the future of the Oasis, it's even a bigger future at stake. Because you're a visionary and you're thinking about VR all the time, I think there may be even hints and advancements there. So there's a lot in this thing coming.
It's lots happened since I wrote the first book. I sold it back in 2010, so it's been 10 years and the whole landscape of VR has changed since then. So there was a lot to take into consideration when I was writing Ready Player 2.
The event we did on Roblox in 2018 had 13 million people participate.
Yeah.
I think it's fair to say this is going to be even bigger.
That first Roblox event was amazing, and I heard about it from people all around the world were excited about it. And my eldest daughter, had been playing Roblox for years, so it was really exciting to have Ready Player One take over her favorite game for a while and have her compete in the contest. I warned her she couldn't win, which disappointed her, but she still had fun participating.
Yeah, I think when we talked at South by Southwest, you hinted a little about your daughter. I'm flattered to hear she's hanging on Roblox in the midst of all that's going on right now. So thank you for sharing that with us.
It's been a huge boon for, I think, kids everywhere, just because it's like the Oasis. It's the closest thing to the Oasis the kids have right now. And just being able to jump in to Roblox whenever they get bored and be with their friends and spend time together in a virtual space has been really therapeutic. So you guys are doing good work.
So hey, you're making history with Ready Player 2. Let's roll back to Ready Player 1 because you captured the imagination, I think, of just so many people from so many walks of life. And there was a movie that came out of that, which was also incredible. Does anything stand out for all of us that fantasize about making movies and being in the movies and working with Spielberg? Does anything stand out from that experience for you?
Well, the whole experience stands out. This past year, I've kind of been living in my memories of it. So I've been in quarantine for a big chunk of the year. I've spent a lot of time thinking about what a great year 2018 was and how it just exceeded all my expectations. Really what you imagine making a movie with Steven Spielberg is it's really like that. It's like a dream come true. And I got to see so many things that were in my book, brought to life, including the stacks, like this idea of stacked trailers that I built in my imagination ended up getting built for real. So that stands out to me. I remember driving towards Leavesden Studio in London and seeing the stacks on the skyline for real, and engineers had built this thing that I had just imagined.
When you have this in your imagination and then all of a sudden you see it in the movie in real life, how does that feel? Was it at the point of your imagination, beyond your imagination? Like, how do the two line up there?
Well, in my imagination, I don't drill down into all the minute details the way that they do when they make a movie. You have to dress the sets and imagine everything. So I could walk up into any one of these stacks of trailers and go into any trailer, and the whole trailer, looked like somebody lived there. And people were living there. For the few days that we were shooting in the stacks, it was filled with extras who were all, dressed like it was 2045. It was just incredible. It was really was really a surreal experience. It felt like a dream kind of the whole time I was there. So even looking back on it now, I have to remind myself that that all really happened.
I know from last time we talked, you're a big Spielberg fan. And you know, if we move out of you know, science fiction into non-science fiction movies, he's got a huge collection there as well. Is there anything that like pops out to you like an old favorite of yours?
Out of his non-science fiction films, I would say Jaws is probably my all-time.
That movie, I remember seeing it and being scared in the movie theater with my parents.
Yeah,
Uh,
everyone was. Yeah,
was there anything in that movie that you thought like stuck out to you? Favorite line? Anything from it?
you're gonna need a bigger boat is the
Yeah.
line that I always quote all the time. Whenever the tools at hand are not sufficient, that's the quote that I always draw upon.
Now that we're getting into Ready Player 2, in a way, you've kind of contributed a bit to the advancement of VR. And is there any way you can think about how you've seen this pan out in almost real life? For us, you know, in the midst of COVID, like I mentioned, we've seen the virtual birthday parties, people trying to connect, younger people trying to figure out how to, you know, work at a distance even. Have you seen any of this come true in your life?
Well, yeah, I mean, everything happens. You know, even the news anchors, and every host of late night television. Everybody's having to do everything from home, virtually through the internet, including my daughter, who's going to school online, and then also in the evenings she'll hang out with her friends in Roblox and spend time in a virtual space there. Which reminds me, she wanted me to ask you if you could get her a unicorn.
I think there's probably like hundreds of different types of unicorns, and now
Oh,
that
well.
we've opened up the UGC store on Roblox, there are probably people making unicorns, which
Oh, right on.
so absolutely like
All right.
you know, high five to that. A lot of people now are talking about the metaverse, and we've also seen people starting to chat not just about how we work or how we learn, but how we consume entertainment, how we work together. Ultimately, I think the vision of Ready Player One and Ready Player Two, and thinking about this vision of the metaverse, is all these things we do in real life, we can start to imagine, you know, doing in the metaverse. Have you seen any other pandemic related things going on related to that, or any other metaverse related advancements since you wrote Ready Player One?
Yeah, a bunch. You know, so much of what I was just imagining in Ready Player One has since come about. Like the Oculus Quest, I got a Oculus Quest, my Oculus Quest here that I use to hang out in big screen with my friends. There's a VR app called Big Screen where you can hang out in a virtual cinema and with up to like 12 of your friends and all watch a movie together. And afterwards, when you hung out in a virtual space, you really feel like you spent time together. It's really amazing.
Yeah, so we did, you know, like the One World Together concert inside of Roblox, and there was this really interesting thing of walking around with friends, then looking up at the screen. I found myself going from the in 3D screen to full screen mode back and forth, and I really like looking over to my friend next to me and like watching it together. I caught a little of that energy, which I think is what we're all hopeful that the metaverse can kind of bring. So I'm looking behind you at your vehicles.
I actually have two DeLoreans hidden back here. But, so this is my garage where I come for inspiration.
When I was just out of high school, I had a 1969 Pontiac Firebird, 400 cubic
Oh,
inch V8, 4-speed. I know DeLorean is like super favorite for you. Do you use the DeLorean? Like how often do you drive it?
I like to take this car out every night between usually like 8 and 10 o'clock, and listen to 80s music and just like recharge my creative batteries. And whenever I take it out, it always makes people happy. You know, when they're seeing the car, usually somebody's seeing the DeLorean for the first time and they've never seen a time machine in person. So it's like a traveling happiness mobile.
You know, one thing I'm curious about, those DeLoreans, are they stock, or have you had to like modify the engine or anything to keep them going?
Yeah, they're all like 35 years old. They made all the DeLoreans between 81 and 82, so they're all about 40, almost 40 years old now, and they do require a lot of work to keep them running. And then plus adding all they obviously don't come with all the flux capacitor and wormhole emitter and all the Back to the Future gear. That's all has to be kind of scavenged and cobbled together. So I've been making it more screen accurate over the years. There's always more tweaks I can do to make it cooler. So it's like a hobby, you know, having a car like an old car like this antique is you know it's a fun hobby to have.
And I think, in a sense, I think those are stainless, aren't they? Like,
Oh
isn't
yeah,
the
they never rust. Yeah,
isn't that
they
like the
never.
Cybertruck 4 years earlier?
I know. Yeah, yeah. It's the Cybertruck definitely looks like it took some inspiration from the DeLorean. For a car that came out 40 years ago, it's still the most futuristic
Yeah.
looking car there is. It looks like a spaceship.
Hey, so I know with Ready Player One and now with the release of Ready Player Two, your life's probably gone through a lot of change. Mine has too. You know, there was this time before, in the early days of Roblox, it was Eric and me, like two of us, just working on this thing, and then Matt and John joined us, and that was very different for me. You know, that was going in, writing code every day, quiet office. My life's completely different now, and now we have hundreds and hundreds of great people that all work together. How about you? Like, has your life changed?
My life has changed drastically. Since when I was writing Ready Player One, I was working a tech support job. I was interested in technology, but I always wanted to be a writer. But I also was interested in computers, and working tech support was a way to kind of work in a facet of what I was interested in. But it was a grueling job where I was on the phone, for 10 hours a day and helping people with their computers. And it wasn't a job that I enjoyed, but because I worked that job, a lot of elements of what I was learning about technology and helping people use computers, and also the job of being a tech support rep, that all worked its way into my novel, into Ready Player One. The way the main character works tech support in the Oasis for a while, and so that was something from my life that ended up informing the story. So even though I didn't enjoy that job at the time, and wished I was working somewhere else, now I'm grateful that I had that job and that experience, because it worked its way into my story. It's like when I was a kid, we lived in a trailer park for a while, which was not fun. And my room was actually the tiny laundry room of the trailer, and it was just for a little while. But that was something that I put into Ready Player One. Wade sleeping in the laundry room of his trailer, and the stacks and all of that came from this experience in my real life, and I saw it depicted in a Steven Spielberg movie. So that's something I always like to tell aspiring writers about is, sometimes you're doing a job in your life or you're living somewhere that you're not happy with, but later on that could, help inspire you to write the story that could change your life. So you should kind of embrace those experiences, whatever is going on in your life, and try to put that into your work.
And I think there's a lot of optimism, in your books as well, around the power of imagination. And in effect, the metaverse is built on imagination. So I always take that as a very optimistic thing for all of us that are trying to create, whether it's music or 3D or imagery.
Yeah.
Hey, and then riffing on Ready Player Two. So the number seven's kind of relevant, and of course we're not in spoiler zone here. But hey, is this random? Is there some significance to this?
Like the number three in Ready Player One, three is a magic number. Number seven is a number that comes up a lot in pop culture and in video games. And kind of collecting seven pieces of something is something that would come up in Dungeons and Dragons modules, and also in like Sonic the Hedgehog had 7 Chaos Emeralds that were red, yellow, blue, cyan, white, purple, and green. And once you collected all of them, that's what you had to do to, I think, defeat Dr. Eggman and win the challenge. But there are a lot of quests that involve the number seven, and some songs that involve the number seven. And so I saw that was a way to weave all those things into the story and have a kind of a connecting element between them. So it'll make sense what I'm talking about once people out there read the book. But yeah, the number seven was a big influence.
So hey, with Ready Player One, I think a lot of people who'd never worn a VR headset got exposure to the tech and to your vision through the book and through the movie. And part of the fun, I think, I imagine, of being a sci-fi writer is you're also a futurist in a way. I mean, that's part of the gig of being a sci-fi writer, which sounds really fun. And I think, in Ready Player Two, I think you go even a little further and there's some really exciting kind of vision going beyond that. When we at Roblox, we kind of done the same thing. We've had vision for 15 years, and it takes a lot of time for some of these things to become reality, but when they do, it's super satisfying. And I'm wondering for you, how's it feel when you see some things in real life come true, after you've written about them?
Well, it's gratifying, but I don't automatically assume that it was my book that helped inspire it, unless sometimes, like with the Oculus Rift, the people who worked on that told me in person that some things from Ready Player One had inspired them. But it's so much easier when you're a writer to just write. Wouldn't it be cool? Than it is to actually make it. It's like easy for me to design an amazing video game in a story.
Yeah.
Yeah, but as you know, it's much harder to actually make the real thing.
I
So
I think
yeah,
that could be a good thing though, right? Because us technologists, we can get locked in by how difficult it is to build stuff. Where writers and futurists, you have the freedom of the written word, right? There's no limit to what you
right,
can imagine. And then the technologists more have to like figure out, can we really build it?
right. And they're the only ones that can really build it. If it was just left up to the writers, all this stuff would remain fantasy. But that's something that I remember hearing about Star Trek, the old Star Trek series. They had those doors that would open automatically, and that's what inspired those doors in grocery stores. Like people at home saw that, and then real engineers went and made it work. So science fiction has always kind of played that role of what extrapolating where our technology might go. But yeah, that's one of the funnest parts of being a science fiction writer is imagining where the technology will lead us, and then how the technology, once it arrives, is going to affect people's day-to-day lives.
I love it because I think it's the best form of brainstorming is unencumbered brainstorming, without
Yeah.
limit. And I think that's a little bit of what you do in your book. So nice
Oh,
job.
thank you.
Almost like we're taking technology and then we go to pop culture at the same time, like in Ready Player One and now Ready Player Two, like you have this amazing intersection of pop culture with a vision of the future. And I think the reader or the movie viewer can almost get a little bit of a vibe of some of the things that have been important in your life. Can you riff a bit on some of the pop culture influences you've had?
We know they're endless. Anybody who read Ready Player One knows that my interest in pop culture is very broad. But for Ready Player Two, there are some specific facets of pop culture that I took inspiration from, like John Hughes films. Huge fan of John Hughes movies, especially the John Hughes movies that were set in high school.
Yeah.
And he created his own fictional high school, Shermer High School. His high school movies took place like Ferris Bueller's Day Off and Kids in Weird Science, Pretty in Pink. They all went to a version of Shermer High School. And I was always fascinated with high school being the setting for all these, dramas about young people's lives.
Yeah.
And especially The Breakfast Club. It's probably my favorite of all time. And I think 90%, 95% of that movie takes place in the school library, which ends up being like this social battlefield for the four kids as they get to know each other. And I always thought that was the library is a fascinating place to set a movie. And it might be the only movie that's completely set in a library.
Yeah, Breakfast Club, one of my favorites. I love the soundtrack as well to that movie.
Oh, so
Yeah,
great. Yeah.
so good. Seems like the book was so fun to write. Are there any moments that you felt were super fun without giving away too much?
Play out. Those events were going to play out in millions of people's imagination, and imagination is even more powerful than computers or the movie platform. Like the human imagination still you can't beat that. So I had a lot of fun thinking about, elements in the story that would set people's imagination alight, hopefully. So that's what I did my best. I'm really hoping people enjoy it.
Well, I have a motion I make at Roblox, which is out of the park. So
Yeah.
I
Oh.
think it's out of the park. So I think
Oh.
everyone's going to really enjoy reading Ready Player 2. Like, kudos to you. It's
Oh, thanks.
awesome. And I think also the Robloxians are going to love the challenges as well that we've got in store. So, Ernie, thanks again. In the midst of all these crazy times, hanging with you has been a highlight for me. I really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for making time to talk with me, and thank you for teaming up with me to do another Ready Player One, Ready Player Two event. This is I had so much fun the first time because it really is like bringing the story to life. What you guys are doing. This is Roblox is the closest thing to the Oasis, and this contest is like the closest thing to the contest described in the book. In reality, people all around the world get to take part in it. It's really amazing. It's like bringing the story to life. So I can't thank you guys enough.
Thank you, Ernie, again.
All right.
Over and out. Really enjoyed it.
All right. Thanks, Dave.